What if the USA annexed Canada? Imagine a moment in history where one decision could fundamentally alter the course of nations, change countless lives, and reshape global power structures. Picture the American and Canadian flags merging, not as neighbors but as one unified nation. What if, at some point, the United States annexed Canada? The idea itself is striking, even controversial, and leads to a cascade of fascinating questions. How would such a historic event impact the two countries in the short term? What transformative changes might unfold over decades? And finally, what would the implications be for the rest of the world? We're diving deep into this thought-provoking alternate history to break down the economic, cultural, and geopolitical ripples such a union might create. Let us know your perspective in the comments, and if you enjoy eye-opening discussions like this, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now let's explore this monumental what if. The immediate consequences of the US annexing Canada would be nothing short of seismic. Politically, this merger would demand a massive overhaul of governance. How would Canada's parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy fit into Washington's federal structure? Would new states be created instantly? Or would Canada form a semi-autonomous region within the United States? The sheer logistics of such an integration would be daunting and disruptive. Economically, the US could reap significant benefits. Incorporating Canada's wealth of natural resources, vast oil reserves, endless timber, precious metals, and fresh water, would supercharge American industries and energy independence. For the United States, these resources could trigger an economic boom, potentially lowering manufacturing costs and making North America a global export leader. But what about Canada? For Canadians, this shift would likely bring significant challenges. Many local industries and workers might struggle to adapt to US policies, tax systems, and large-scale capitalism. Would Canadian farmers, energy producers, and small businesses thrive under US rules, or would they crumble under the weight of intense competition? What are the costs of losing economic sovereignty to a larger power, even one that shares some cultural similarities? Culturally, the immediate response could be even more volatile. Canada has cultivated a unique identity, proud, independent, and distinct from its southern neighbor. The prospect of losing that identity might trigger resistance or even uprisings in some regions. Social tensions could rise quickly, especially over differences in healthcare, gun laws, and approaches to immigration. Can two nations with different values simply blend overnight, or would the cracks show immediately? On the world stage, the annexation of Canada would reverberate like a tectonic shift. A unified North America would emerge as an uncontested superpower. Geographically, this new country would boast unparalleled access to natural resources, a larger population, and the largest landmass controlled by a single nation in modern history. Economists and military strategists alike could describe this as the birth of a global titan. The questions then become, how would the world react? For traditional allies like the UK, would they view this unification as a strengthening of Western values and democracy, or as a loss of Canada's independent voice on the global stage? For adversaries like Russia and China, the prospect of a strengthened North America might be alarming, potentially forcing them into tighter alliances to counterbalance this newfound dominance. One area to watch closely would be trade. A unified North America could set the rules for global markets, leveraging its resources and industrial capacity to dominate sectors like energy, technology, and agriculture. Yet such dominance could come with risks. Would other nations impose strict trade restrictions to resist overdependence on this new superpower? Would relationships with trade blocs like the European Union flourish or crumble under the weight of competitive rivalry? Militarily, the balance of power would also shift. Canada's vast territory is strategically critical, with proximity to the Arctic, Pacific, and Atlantic. As part of the US, this region could enhance America's defensive posture and power projection worldwide. But would a superpower of this scale make the world more stable or dangerously destabilize it? History teaches us that unchecked dominance often breeds suspicion and resistance. A united North America might inadvertently spark an arms race or even global polarization. Fast forward a few decades. What would North America look like over time? The long-term economic impact could be transformational, but not without challenges. On the one hand, shared infrastructure, technology, and industries could create unprecedented innovation, potentially turning North America into the world's primary hub for economic progress. On the other hand, integrating two economies with distinct systems and values could generate friction. How would Canada's socialized and community-focused economic policies reconcile with America's more market-driven and profit-centered approach? Beyond economics lies the question of cultural identity. Would Americans and Canadians integrate into a shared national identity over time or remain divided, with simmering tensions between differing priorities? Canada's deep-rooted sense of inclusion, environmental stewardship, and emphasis on social welfare might contrast sharply with America's rugged individualism and differing cultural attitudes. There's also the possibility of fragmentation. Regional disparities, such as Quebec's already strong sense of cultural independence or Western Canada's vast but sparsely populated resource regions, could reignite separatist movements. Even in the US, there could be regions wary of the costs and sacrifices needed for integration. Could the united North America maintain cohesion, or would it eventually fracture under the weight of its vast differences? Another concern would be resource sustainability. A superpower with massive consumption needs could face environmental challenges at an unprecedented scale. Would the two nations work together to develop sustainable practices, or would the immediate drive for profits take precedence over long-term ecological concerns? Globally, the annexation of Canada would ripple far and wide. For one, it might signal the end of existing power structures. A united North America would dwarf the influence of other global players like the EU, China, and Russia. However, such a scenario could polarize the world, leading to the creation of opposing geopolitical blocs. Would this North American superpower encourage peace, facilitating stability and cooperation with its unmatched leverage? Or would it lead to an era defined by sharp divisions as rising powers seek to curb its dominance? History is filled with examples where the rise of one power sparked fears and rivalries worldwide. There's also the human cost to consider. As populations integrate, would individuals from both nations feel betrayed by their governments, or would they genuinely see this as a step forward? Education, healthcare, technology, and culture would all transform on a scale we've rarely seen in history. Would humanity be better off, or lost in the chaos born from such an unprecedented reshuffling of nations? The annexation of Canada by the United States is a speculative scenario, but it challenges us to think about broader questions that transcend borders. What does national identity mean, and how much are people willing to sacrifice for economic gains or political power? Could such a union unleash innovation and prosperity, or would it lead to friction, conflict, and even rebellion? Now we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think this hypothetical union could succeed, or do you see it as a recipe for disaster? Let's debate in the comments below. Don't hold back. And if you enjoy exploring scenarios that reshape our understanding of history and humanity, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. History isn't just about what happened, it's about questioning what could happen. See you next time for more mind-bending discussions.